That's the Way Love Goes is one of your greatest songs, one of Janet's greatest songs, always probably one of my favorite songs of all time. Everything about that song is perfect. And I know they didn't want it as the single. I mean, you had to fight for it, but maybe just break down how that song came together.
Well, I think this song is a great example, as we talked about earlier, about the funky bottom and the pretty top. It doesn't get funkier than James Brown. So at the foundation of that song, you had two of the most famous, probably hip-hop samples that existed. You had Impeach the President, which is the drum beat, which is the right? So you had that. And then you had, along with that, the James Brown Papa Don't Take No Mess, which is one of the funkiest, James Brown songs ever. The idea, though, was then to take that and make a song out of it, put chords over the top and, B section and all those types of things. So the fact of using really kind of beautiful, soft synthesizers and that kind of thing, we thought was a great, just kind of sonic, palette to work with. And I remember playing the song for Janet the first time, or not even the song, it was just the track. And I remember I had played it there was a guy named Mark Mazzetti. He was an A&M Records guy. And he was a guy that was, unfortunately, because the move had gone to Virgin at that point, he wasn't involved with the record, but he happened to be in town. And he said, "What are you working on?" And I played him the track, and he was like, "Oh my God, this is the most amazing track ever. I love this track." And I said, "Oh yeah." And he says, "What does Janet think?" And I said, "She hasn't heard it yet." And I remember it was really funny. So then when Janet came to the studio, she heard it and she kind of said, "Yeah, it's okay." And I was like, "What?" I wasn't devastated, but I was like, "Okay, well, what else do you want to work on?" And we started working on another song. So then when she left, we took a little break over the holidays. And I remember she took the song with her. I put it on a cassette with a bunch of other songs. When she was on vacation, they played the song, kind of what was in the video. If you remember the That's the Way Love Goes video, that was kind of what happened. They put the song on and everybody started going, "Oh man, Janet, this is amazing. This is amazing." And she was like, "It is?" So when she got back to Minneapolis and I said, "What do you want to start working on?" She said, "Oh my God, that song, that track, we have to work on that track." And I said, "Which track?" She said, "Oh my God, the track you gave me. I said, "Oh, the one you didn't like?" She said, "Oh no, I get it now. I love it. And she was staying at my house. And I remember about 2 a.m, she hit me on the intercom and she said, "Are you asleep?" And I said, "Not anymore." And she said, "I got it." She said, "That's the Way Love Goes. It's going to be called That's the Way Love Goes." And I got the concept and I said, "Okay, great." I said, "We can do it at the studio tomorrow." And she said, "Oh, okay. It was just kind of magic the way that song came together and the fact that she fell in love with it. And then, as you said, after the song was done, in our minds, it was the first single from the album because it really represented what the sound of the next album was, which was a sound of, it was love. It was her kind of falling in love phase. And we were all kind of in love at that point in our lives. So it all made sense. And then I remember the record company, what happened was a couple of the guys from Virgin came to town during the making of If, the song If.
Yeah.
And I told Janet, I said, "Hey, some of the record guys are in town. Can I play them something?" She said, "Yeah, just play them whatever you're working on." And I said, "Oh, I'm working on If." So she said, "Okay, cool." So I put If on because they hadn't heard anything. And of course, there was this whole thing because the contract at the time was like the biggest contract any female artist had ever gotten from a record company. So I think there was a little concern about, what we're up to. And when we played If, I remember their jaws dropped and they just were like, "Okay, great. Sounds great." And so in their minds, that was the album, right? In their minds when they left. So when they started talking about If as the single, because in their minds, that's what they heard that day, it was like, no, but you haven't even heard the rest of the album. And I remember Janet saying, "Oh, no, That's the Way Love Goes." And she went to LA. When she came back to Minneapolis, she said, "If is the single." And we were like, no. So the final piece of that particular story was we were in the studio with Chuck D doing a song called New Agenda. It was the last song on the album we were doing. And when we were done, it was maybe 2 a.m. and it was Chuck and it was Hank Shockley from Public Enemy and from the Bomb Squad. And we were like, "Hey, can we play the 2 songs that we think are the singles? And you tell us." And we played them. And I remember If came on and they were like, "Oh man, yeah, that's Janet. And Janet's looking at me like, Yeah, told you, right? And then we put on That's the Way Love Goes. And Chuck D just said, man, that song, that's like when Sade puts out a record. When he picked up a CD and he just said, it's like when you put that CD out, but there's no big fanfare. It's just kind of, you just put it on the table. And then people go, oh, wait, what is that? Oh, wait, oh, a new Sade CD? And I looked at Janet like, see, And anyway, That's the Way Love Goes ended up being the single. And of course, it was absolutely huge. And as you said, it's perfect song. I think in my mind, it really was, because it really married a whole lot of different things together. And I remember later on when we produced Mary J. Blige, I remember Mary J. Blige was always kind of the blueprint for the kind of hip hop soul type of thing. And I remember she did a record with the same sample in it. And I always wondered if she had done that record at some point. We hadn't heard it, but if she had done that record, and she said, no, I was copying y'all on that one. It was cool. It was a great experience.
You always make kind of innovative use of the stereo field. And That's the Way Love Goes is a great example of just like stereo vocal production and mixing with the deep voice going on one side and then Janet on the other. And then there's a lot. Talk maybe about that in particular and just generally your sort of hi-fi philosophy on that kind of thing.
It was kind of like in that song, because of the simplicity of the song, we thought it was kind of cool to play with the vocal and not do like a lot of ad libs and a lot of the things that we would kind of normally do with a song. It was all about the subtlety of the song. And all the voices on the song, the low ones and everything, is all Janet. It's all just electronically tuned.
Whoa!
Back when the That's the Way Love, that's the way love, that's the way love. That's all Janet. That's just her doing that. And we just thought it was kind of a cool way to kind of get in and out of the song. It was kind of like the last thing I remember we did on the song was the like a moth to a flame burned by the fire. My love is blind, can't you see my desire? Like that was kind of, we kept thinking we need to have some sort of intro to the song or something that catches your ear right away. I remember Andre Harrell, rest in peace. I remember I was going to a convention in Chicago. And they asked, would I mind sharing a car with, our flights were landing at the same time, would we share a car with Andre Harrell? And I said, cool. In the car, we're driving, and on the radio, That's the Way Love Goes comes on. And it was the first time I'd ever heard it on the radio. And I remember Andre Harrell saying to the driver, wait, turn that up, man. What is that? Turn that up. And he's talking to me and he's going, Jam, you hearing this, man? Listen to this, man. This is amazing. Oh, man, listen to this, man. Man, there's some cinematic shit going on here, man. Listen to this shit. And he's like going, and then when it goes off, the DJ goes, and that's the new one from Janet Jackson. That's the Way Love Goes. And he looks at me and he goes, man, that's Janet Jackson, man. Did you do that song? And I said, yeah. And he said, oh, man, why didn't you say something? And I said, because I was just enjoying watching you, listen to the song, But it was just kind of a bunch of those types of little subtle things. And I remember we had added a couple more overdubs to the song. And I remember when Janet heard it, she was like, no, take that all out. It's just got to stay simple. It's just got to be subtle. And that's the way we kept it. But it is, I don't think any song is perfect, but I think that one probably comes the closest in our minds. When you kind of would hear something in your mind and then the way it would turn out would be so far beyond what you even thought. That was definitely one of those.
Yeah. And you missed the point if you didn't mention Steve Hodge and the mix that he put on that thing, man. Steve Hodge, our mixer at the time, was or is one of the best ever.
I think that's some of what I'm hearing.